guests. Hi, Pilin.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Hello. I'm well. How are you?
Beautiful. You're like glowing. I love this marigold color that you're wearing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. It's been a busy day, but it's a beautiful day. The
Yeah.
weather, I think one of the things that's been bringing me so much joy right now is getting outside and just
Yeah.
enjoying nature.
I
Yeah.
love that. Well, for all of you who are joining or possibly watching this on our IGTV later, we are here with Pillin Anice, and I'm so excited to be talking to you today, Pillin, because we've known each other for a long time, but we've never gotten to work together really. And that's something that we just talked about earlier this past week. And I've been seeing your content and also hearing about you through our mutual friend V for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I just know that a lot of people are going to get a tremendous amount of value from what we're going to talk about with you today. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm so happy that you're here. And, yeah, there's so much that I want to talk to you about because there's obviously so much going on in the world right now, and a lot of people are struggling and suffering. And I know something that you actually posted about on your Instagram recently was about how wellness and meditation and joy can be an act of resistance. And I know you're a health coach and you also teach yoga and you're an African dance teacher
Mhm.
and all these amazing things that you've been doing for much of your life for many, many, many years. This is not new for you.
Right.
So I would love for you to maybe tell us a little bit about how you got started in doing movement and, having yoga be a part of your life, just to start from there.
Yeah, sure. So for me, I would say movement's been a part of my life for a long time. I think like everyone, I was in ballet when I was
Yeah.
4, had the tutu, have the pictures to prove it, the
Yeah.
cute photos. But I really got serious into dance and movement when I was in college. I was in
Hmm.
a BFA program where part of the course load was dance, being in the dance
Hmm.
department. And so it was in the dance department where I actually had my first West African dance class and as well as
Yeah.
my first yoga class as a freshman at Howard University in Washington, D.C. And both of them just, enlightened something within me or just ignited something within me that I've kept with me really throughout my adult life. And it was those practices, again, that allowed me to reset myself and to connect to joy. West African dance is something that I felt connected to because it's from our ancestors, and
Hmm.
the practices of not just African dance is not just physical, but it's also being in community, right? So it's being in community. There's this element, of course, of music, of connecting to the oneness of nature through the rhythm of the drum. So it's just a powerful experience that I recommend for everyone. I think it's the best
Hmm.
medicine.
Yeah.
So for me, that's really the beginning, was at Howard University. It was where yoga and West African dance were introduced to me, and dances of the, not just West African dance, but also dances of the African diaspora. So that's dances from Cuba, from Haiti, from Brazil, that I actually also really kind of step my feet into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love when you talk about movement, especially African dance. It's like not just about the physical, but it is about the emotional and, your feelings that are happening. 'Cause I know for a lot of people who are maybe watching, and I know for myself, movement has always been really hard for me
Yeah.
because of my chronic illnesses and just feeling like a lot of times, even, I mean, I have arthritis, so that actually makes it hard, but a lot of times, even when you just have stuff going on with your body,
Yeah.
like the last place you want to be is in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and so can you talk to us a little bit about, like, maybe for somebody who is struggling to even want to get into their body or start practicing, like, how did you take those steps? Were those things that you were struggling with at all in your life?
Yeah, I think there've definitely been seasons for me, but I'd love to just share that as a space holder, someone who does hold space for all bodies to move. And I say that with intention, all bodies to move, no matter the age, no matter what it is that you're experiencing that may feel like it's going to impact negatively your ability to actually move. It's just saying yes to come into the space and releasing judgment. of anything that comes up, letting yourself move in whatever way feels good, right? And that could be, for some in my practices, in my classes, would just be pull up a chair. You're in the circle, because I usually teach in a circle. You have a chair in the circle, and you do what you're able to do. If it's just lifting one arm today, that's what it is. And give gratitude for that and be in that. But the important thing is that we all have is the movement of the breath. We all have that, right? So moving your breath, being in your breath, that's going to bring you into your body. That's going to bring you into the present. And I mean, obviously right now with the pandemic, we're not all together, but even in a virtual space, just showing up, doing what you can. If you're not comfortable, the good thing about the virtual experience, turn off the camera. No one sees you. So just do what you can and commit to yourself and be grateful for that. I think that's the most important thing. That whenever you're feeling, whether you're experiencing a chronic disease that's impacting your ability to move, or whether sometimes people who are able to move their bodies just don't feel motivated, just don't feel inspired or encouraged to move for whatever's going on. So I think just giving yourself permission to show up and then doing what you can, suspending any judgment of what it needs to look like, what you envision in your mind, and just being where you are in the moment today. Yeah. And I think finding a teacher who, or an instructor who holds space in that way is also key, right? So finding someone who really respects that and creates an environment where everybody feels safe, where everybody feels like they have permission to just be in their bodies in whatever way. And like I said, in my classes, I've had people who just come just lay in savasana. That's okay. You don't have to move today. It's all right. I'm not, sometimes teachers feel offended, like, you're not moving, you're not doing No, if Savasana is all you've got, so be it, right? And that's enough to just be in the vibration of the space. Sometimes hearing the music, hearing the cues again to breathe, right? And just knowing you're not alone.
Yes.
That's so
Yeah,
much.
I feel so moved by what you're saying because, yeah, it really speaks to what I've definitely experienced with trying to get into movement and just all of the fears that come up for that. And then I know so many people in the comments are like saying amen, and they totally resonate with what you're saying because I think it sounds like what you're describing is it comes in a few different points of commitment, maybe even is like a way that I kind of think about it. You know, like committing to I'm gonna try is like one part that you're talking about, and then also committing to finding the teacher that is right for you. I mean, I know you told me earlier this week when we connected that you are doing virtual classes, so that's really great, especially people who aren't able to leave their homes. I mean, right now nobody can, but whenever you're watching this, you know, if you aren't able to go to classes, if that's something that you've never been able to experience before, having that virtual class is so important. So I love that so much, and finding that teacher that doesn't make you feel ashamed of what you're experiencing.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think that's key. That's key, is finding someone who gets that. And I think that's the community. That's cultivating community. It's making space for everyone to just be themselves, however they're able to show up.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And I know Intended Well is saying that's the biggest thing, knowing we're not alone. Raval, our girl Raval's on, saying the same thing, just knowing we're not alone. Because I think that's something that's really come up for me for sure, is just feeling like I was the only one that was really going through these challenges when I would go, especially to a yoga class, like trying to do a downward dog and stuff is really hard for me on my joints, you know, and certain things. So just finding that teacher is so important. So yeah, so getting back to what you were saying in your one of your recent posts about how, you know, movement and breath and joy is all an act of resistance. So can you share a little bit about how you've been experiencing that in your own life? Like what have you been doing to access that for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, as a Black woman, you know, this everything that's coming up has been our lived experience. You know, there's kind of been a light that's been kind of shining on things that for many people they didn't see. People who aren't of color, and so this is something that we've been moving through, we've been dealing with, and so joy, my existence, my showing up in spaces has been a protest. Me showing up with a smile and ready has been a protest. It's also an act of resilience, an act of my joy, an act of my courage and my power of who I am and knowing who I am. So for me, it's continuing to show up and do the practices that I know support me, that pour into me. Like I said earlier, going into nature and just being in that space it's resistant joy for me. It's resilient joy. It activates that within me. And so I think it's so important that we go there and we stay there, and we're in this space now where there's so much that's keeping us in this heightened state, like in that fight or flight state.
Yeah.
Which is dangerous for our mental health, and it's dangerous for our bodies. Yeah. So I think it's so important that we find ways to connect to joy, that we increase our capacity to experience love and joy, even in these times that are difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful. And I appreciate you sharing a bit about your experience. And I know you have children too. So I know that that's a part of, I'm sure, what you're teaching them as well. How does that come into play?
I love that you mentioned them, because they're definitely, I think especially my son, he's 5, and he's just this big ball of joy and energy, literally. Yes, joy is medicine, and he brings that joy no matter what. He has joy that's just unceasing. And so you have no excuse or no reason not to connect to joy when he's around, and he brings that out in all of us. So that's been really a gift to have him around. And getting outside, like I said, for him, it's like it's an 8. He's 5, so everything is joy. Waking up is like, yes, everything. And it should be for all of us too. So he's a reminder of these little practices, and not taking for granted the little things that we do. And my daughter is 12, and so bringing her, she's getting into that preteen stage. So bringing her back is a little bit more work, a little more effort. But for me, I include them in movement practices. We again go out in nature. We do things like that together as a family to really connect us together and connect us to joy.
Yeah. And in light of that, are you also having conversations about what's happening with your kids in terms of everything that's happening in, the Black community and what's been talked about so heavily right now everywhere? And how are you able to nurture them through that?
Yeah. So that's a great question. Because they're different ages, they're 5 and 12, I approach it very differently for both of them. For my 5-year-old, I actually keep it to a minimum, the knowledge of what was happening, and we really try to fortify him with stories of progressive Blackness, or of our power. Does that make sense? Because he's still forming and shaping who he is and his identity, and I don't want that to be one that he feels that he just you understand what I'm saying? I'm losing the word.
Yeah, you don't want him to feel like he's carrying that weight.
He's carrying that weight, and that defines who he is. We don't want that to be how he defines who he is. So we want him to have these books the books that we read, the stories we tell him are really around his power and his beauty and his intelligence and all that he has to offer to the world and all that he can be. That's really what we're fortifying in him, and that's what we're going to continue to fortify. And of course, we share in small doses what's happening and how there's an awareness, because if he asks questions, then we answer them honestly. But then with our daughter, she's 12, so she's actually this year, she's in middle school, it's her first year, and she was actually voted the director of the diversity and inclusion ambassador. Yes, she had an election and everything. She had to do a speech in front of the whole middle school. I was. We were so proud of her. So she already has the spirit.
What's her name?
Her name is Zuri. Yes, Miss Zuri.
Claps for her. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And for her to want to do that, it was all, no one told her to do it. She said, I want to do this. I want to take on this role and really be a voice in my community and my school about what it means to be included and to feel included in all spaces. And so she's very much aware of what's happening. She's been a part of talks, virtual talks through some of the nonprofit organizations that she participates in. And she's really passionate about using her voice and activating her voice. So we keep her involved and share with her. But again, she's very passionate and very fiery, but she also has a very emotions can kind of bubble up. So also try to modify that and make sure that she also knows how to take care of herself and manage those feelings that are coming up, because she gets really angry, when she hears about what's happening.
Wow. Well, it's kids like that that make me feel hope for the future. That is
Hmm.
really, it's true. It really is so powerful. And just to have, a role model in you and, in knowing that you can take care of yourself and that you can be strong and that you can be all of these incredible things no matter what the media is trying to tell you of otherwise. It is just so incredibly powerful. And I know, thank you for sharing that with us. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's really meaningful for us to
Hmm.
hear that. Yeah, go Zuri. Uh,
Yeah.
thank you for that. So I know one of the things that we wanted to talk about, especially because we are talking to our Chronicon audience and we are always looking for ways to reduce stress especially with a chronic illness. But right now, it is such a unique, specific time. With COVID and with all of us being in our homes, it is that much more challenging in terms of, being limited to the types of resources that we have. A lot of people are going through financial stress and struggles too. So there's just so many layers that perhaps we're already there, a lot of people think, but this is like a heightened version of it that definitely we have never experienced before, at least not in our lifetimes. So, is there something that you can share with us about, how to de-stress and how to really work on supporting our nervous system during
Yeah.
this time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. That's so important. And you're right, things are so heightened. And
Mm,
people, we really need to fortify ourselves so that we can be with all that's happening. And I'm glad you mentioned our nervous system because right now, I think I shared earlier, I can't remember, about just being in fight or flight. And
yes.
that's kind of where we're living. And so there's lots of cortisol that's being released. And so
Mm,
it's really important for us to find practices that bring us back to the parasympathetic nervous system, which is that rest and digest state. And
yeah.
what that looks like for everyone is going to be different. That's
Okay.
the thing. So I think what it is really looking at ways to disconnect yourself from what's happening. And I don't say that in a way where you just become not conscious of it, but
Yeah.
taking moments to pause, to disconnect from social media, disconnect from the internet, anything that is heightening your levels of stress, anything that's taking you to that place of anxiety and worry. We want to minimize that. So yes, we have to be aware, we have to know what's going on, but not to the point that it's causing, constant chronic stress
Yeah.
levels, right? Because that stress levels being elevated is going to impact your health. It's going to impact
Mhm.
any illness or any thing that you already have going on physically. It's
Yeah.
not going to allow your body to be able to heal
Right.
itself as it needs to do. So with that said, I believe you have to find practices for yourself that are going to help to bring you back into the parasympathetic nervous system.
Yeah.
And that does look good for everybody, look different for everybody. So I
Mhm.
think for me, personally, again, like I shared earlier, one of my practices is connecting to nature.
Mm,
So going out and connecting to nature is one way to do it. Another practice, of course, is meditation,
yeah.
movement. And the thing about meditation that really helps you to come out of all of the thoughts and all of the busyness of the brain, all of the worry, all of the doubt, and just bring you back into the present where none of that is. Just bring you
Mhm.
back into your body. So taking a moment to just breathe deep.
Yeah.
The breath, like I said earlier, is medicine, is transformative. So really taking out moments to do that, and those boundaries with technology, like saying I'm only allowed to have 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
There are apps that help. I've learned that help to shut you down, right? If you
Yep.
can't remember to do it yourself, to keep you accountable.
Yeah.
So do that, and then plan time to just be with yourself. Find a self-care practice that works for you. Whether it's going out in nature, whether it's doing a movement class or a meditation class, if it's taking a bath, if it's doing something like an Ayurvedic self-care practice, like doing an Abhyanga massage, just putting oil in the skin to just ground you, right? Even really simple, just again, just turning everything off, standing up tall. And I think if we have time, we can just move through a little movement practice that I
Do
can
it.
share at the
I'm ready.
end.
I'm
We'll
ready
do it,
like
we'll do it at the end. Let me know when you're ready to wrap it up. And we'll do it at the end. Leave like 5 or 10 minutes, about 5 minutes, just for a
yeah.
5 minute reset that people can do at any time that they're feeling overwhelmed
Great.
by all that's happening. So I think
Yeah.
it's so important to find those practices, and also knowing that one thing that does impact stress response is sleep. And I feel like sleep is something that we're lacking right now because we are connected again to our devices nonstop.
Yeah.
which is keeping us in this space of like
Yeah.
not resting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like those boundaries around screens is powerful. So in giving yourself permission to sleep, deciding I'm going to rest. I need 8 hours. So what time do I need to shut off my device? And it's a good practice to shut it off at least an hour before bedtime. 2 hours is even better because
Hmm.
it's going to give your body some time to start to
Yeah.
create the melatonin so that you don't just fall asleep, but you get quality rest once you get there. Because a
Yeah.
lot of us too, we're going to sleep, but we're not getting quality sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely get that. I feel like especially when the pandemic first started, I felt like I was barely asleep. I felt like I was kind of,
We're
like
able to
this,
rest.
like,
Yeah.
just above the sleep,
Mm-hmm.
the actual resting sleep. I just felt like I couldn't unplug. I couldn't relax. And I love what the way that you explain it too, that it is so personal and it is about like figuring out what is it that I specifically need and what's going to actually work for me. So I love that. I find that I actually get really comforted by listening to an audiobook or like a podcast before I go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Weirdly, you'd think that it would make my mind go more, but there's something about it that just kind of makes me forget about the day. But I don't have to look at a screen, so I can just like
Exactly.
have it playing while I'm brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
love that you shared that because it does look so different for everybody. Somebody, it might be journaling, right? Having a gratitude moment
yeah,
also brings you down. And I'm also a health coach. I think you know that. I'm also a health
yeah,
coach. I work with clients all the time to kind of
yeah,
work through what these things are for them. And one of my clients, she had a long distance relationship, so she had to be on the phone right before bed because that's like a part of their ritual. So
yeah,
it's like, okay, well, what can that look like for me? Maybe again, I'm putting it on speaker, putting it in my headphones so that I'm not looking at the phone because sometimes
yeah,
she be FaceTiming. So we won't FaceTime at this hour, but we'll, instead just put the buds in and have a conversation that way without looking at a screen and dim the lights, right, in the
yes.
space because that makes a difference. Maybe
It
burn a little
does.
incense, a little lavender, just something that's still going to start to bring you down, but you still have those things that, you need to do within your lifestyle because everybody's
Yes,
different.
I'm all about the scents too.
Yeah.
I light a rose incense stick like every morning and then
Mm-hmm.
every night before I go to bed. And sometimes I'm like, does this really matter that I'm doing this? Because especially
It
before I go to
does.
bed, it really
It's your
does.
ritual, right?
Yes.
We have these rituals we create that we create for ourselves. And I encourage if you don't have rituals, someone who's watching, to create a ritual for yourself. There's something very beautiful in ritual and doing something every day that's just for you at the top of your day and at the end of your day.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, I don't know scientifically if this is true, but I do think that it sort of feels like I get a notification or something in my body, like, okay, like here is this thing that you do before bed every day. So now bedtime's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I feel
I'm
like there
with you.
must be some science to back that up. I don't.
It's definitely, I'm saying yes. That's their science
Okay.
here. Yeah.
Great. Great, perfect. Yeah, I just love that. And when you brought up meditation too, I think the first it's something I've struggled with, and I always say it's very off-brand because my last name is Chopra and I'm Indian, so I just feel like I should be really good at meditating, but I'm not. Right, right. I just feel like I should be really good at it, and I'm just not. It's just, I mean, I do meditate. It's not that I don't at all, but
Mhm.
that like ideal of, okay, I'm gonna sit and have my beads or my crystals or whatever and just be meditating for 20 minutes twice a day and I'm gonna be a rock star at this. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I have found that meditation kind of looks differently for me depending on the day. Like sometimes it's just making my bed and cleaning up my apartment while I'm listening to really beautiful music,
Mhm.
or even like just meditating, focusing while I'm washing the dishes and I'm just like
Sure.
really
Yeah.
focusing on that.
Yeah, that's that practice of mindfulness, of being present, right? So it's like a mindful meditation, a mindful active meditation, which
Yeah.
that exists as well. I think with meditation is it's tricky because a lot of people like you say, "Oh, I'm not good at meditating.
Yeah.
I can't do it." Let that go. I always say, let that go.
Yeah.
Everybody can meditate. right? I think we just have this mystical idea of what we think meditation should look like you said, with the beads. I got my crystals and I'm just sitting like Buddha, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, that's not what it is for every. It's not going to look that way. Maybe one day you'll get there, and but that's not the goal when you commit to sitting.
Yeah.
So the energy is just to commit to sitting, whether it's 2 minutes, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever that looks like for you in a day. And the thing is, when it comes to meditation, people always think that it's the absence of thoughts, like you just kind of stop thinking. And that's, people always say,
Right.
I can't meditate because my mind just keeps thinking.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to think. You're alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not going to stop thinking. So meditation is not the absence of thought.
Mm-hmm.
It's the awareness and the witness and observing those thoughts, right? And being with all of yourself without judging, but just being there. And the breath acts as an anchor to keep us in the present moment, right? Yeah. So it's just, and I think there's so many different styles of meditation, like you just shared. Meditation can be washing dishes. It can be preparing dinner. It can be taking a walk down the street or through the forest and just being aware of everything. It's a practice of mindful listening, of hearing sounds and just recognizing them. Oh, I hear a dog, or oh, I hear birds, or oh, that's a car. And just that's the practice of being present.
Yeah.
Right. So it doesn't just look like sitting down, but when you do take time to sit and be in a to meditate the way that we do, the way that we think of it.
Yeah.
Knowing that there's different ways to do it, there's different approaches and different lineages in meditation that you can always explore and find one that works for you. And it could be one that's more of a Vipassana style meditation, which is focusing on the breath, just feeling the inhale and exhale. It could be one that's a metta meditation, which is the practice of loving kindness, of bringing in, repeating phrases that bring in loving kindness to yourself and compassion, awareness to others in our communities. I also teach that practice in the movement meditation class on Saturdays that I'm offering. Or it could be an affirmation or a chanting. Right? There's so many different ways to meditate. So I always tell people who do have overactive minds, if you feel like for you, your blockage is the thought, the mind is constantly thinking, finding a practice that does have a mantra, that does have something that your mind can kind of catch and hold on to, and being in that. And then eventually the goal, you'll be able to release that mantra and just be.
I love that. I've noticed that things that give me something else to focus on, like you're saying, like a mantra, it really does make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I think something I'm feeling in all the things that we're talking about today is that it really is, whether it's the movement, whether it's the boundaries with the technology and being plugged in, or it's the actual meditation, I feel like the message has really been about just starting wherever you're at. And I know so many people that are watching are going through so much, and it's just really, really comforting to know that we can just start with, 30 seconds with, the next time we do this thing, we're going to try to just be a little bit more mindful. Or I do a lot of like YouTube video workouts, and maybe you start with the 20-minute one or 10-minute one, and then you take your class and you move yourself up, or you know what I mean, like there's just, it's really comforting to know that you don't have to. I think a lot of what this moment is about is we don't have to be on and perfect at everything right now.
Letting go of what we think things need to look like, letting go and just surrendering to what is, and doing what you can, like you said. It could be just a YouTube video. It could be you just play on your favorite song and just say, oh, this song is 3 minutes, 33 seconds. I'm just going to move here for 30 minutes and 33 seconds. Just do your thing. And then that's it. And you feel better.
You do.
Right?
You really do.
Just these practices that you're going to feel better, even if it's just for a moment.
I love that. I love that so much. And I hope that it brings comfort to the people that are watching. And I know you want to do like a 5-minute routine for us, which I don't know how good I'm going to be at it, but I'm going to do it. So I'm down to try. Let's do whatever you want us to do. I'm in your hands.
Okay, good. All right.
So those of you watching, follow along with us.
Yeah, follow along, friends. Please. So we're going to just come, if you're sitting down, you can come to the edge of your chair. If you're standing up, just feel your feet planted. The goal here is just to feel rooted through the soles of the feet and feel lifted up through to the crown of the head. Feel your center, feel your shoulders soften. And you can allow your eye gaze to either close if you're comfortable with that, or just looking down towards the earth. But just to start to allow your awareness to drop within. And we'll take a deep inhale and a deep breath out. Good. Just a few more, just a deep breath in and a breath out. Now, as you continue with that flow of breath, that deepening of the breath, begin to watch and feel how the waves of breath impact the body. Perhaps as you're inhaling, you can feel the belly expand. You can feel the rib cage expand. You feel the chest slightly lift. And then as you exhale, squeezing empty, notice how the body changes shape. The expansion and the contraction, the movement of the body, the rhythms of the body that are flowing in tandem with the breath. And as you stay here for a few more breaths, allowing the awareness to go deep within, again, feeling the weight of your body, the outline of the body, the shape of your body. Again, the feet on the earth, the reach of the crown of the head to the sky. And we'll take one more deep, full inhale. And then this time as you exhale, you can keep your eyes closed, but just allow your chin to drop down to the chest. As the chin drops down, just take a moment to pause and witness any sensations in the back of the neck. Perhaps there was some compression there that this shape in the body has now created a little bit of space for. So let's breathe into that. So just breathe in and exhale. And then we'll inhale again, and this time let the chin lift up to the sky. So head floats up and back, chin reaches up to the sky. And then we'll hold here for a moment. Notice that compression now, okay? Squeezing the vertebrae, the cervical spine. But as you take a breath in, just breathe into your throat, this phase of communication. And then as you exhale, gently allow the head to float down through center, back into that neutral place. And then let the right ear come over to your right shoulder. Let the head begin to circle around to the right. Good. And then we'll go all the way up and around. And the next time the head comes back through center, chin to the chest, let the left ear roll over to the left shoulder. Breathing in, and then exhale, let the head circle around. One more time, just in this direction. Really good. And then as you come back through center, take a moment to pause once again and just feel any sensations that are present in the neck. And then your arms and your hands, gently slide your hands along your thighs or your knees. If you're standing, you can bring hands to hips. We're going to inhale, extend your chest forward, open out through your chest. And then as you exhale, round your back, chin to the chest. Good. Again, inhale, extending, heart shines forward. So just feeling the motions of the spine. Again, riding the waves of the breath as you round back. So there's one breath, one movement. Again, each breath drawing you deeper into your body, deeper into the present moment, and into the experience and movement that you're creating. We'll do that twice more. So inhale, extending, finding spaciousness across the heart. Exhale, rounding, scooping out. Feel the shoulder blades slide apart. One more time, sensing again the mechanics of this movement, the bones, the muscles all working together. Good, with sheer grace, joy. And the next time that you come back through center, we'll pause. Good. Take the arms alongside, and we're just going to breathe them out. We're almost there. We're going to wrap this up, breathing in. And then as you exhale, press the arms down. I just want to invite you to do one more thing. Inhale, shoulders up to the ears. Imagine any tension, any stress. And then exhale, just let them float down. Good, nice. 2 more times like that. Breathe in, lift the shoulders up. And then exhale, let that go. One more time. Breath in, shoulders lift. And then as you exhale, shoulders soften down. Keep the eyes closed. Again, just pause and be. Just feel where you are. Just feel how this brief moment of mindful movement, of breathing with intention, of connecting to this beautiful body that carries you, how that just shifted and connected you to yourself, to the higher power, to all that's within and without. And just bring your hands over your heart in gratitude, connecting to those inner rhythms. Again, that beat of your heart, the breath that flows in and out. And we'll breathe in together with a big inhale. And then exhale through your mouth with a big sigh. Good. Just sinking into the sweetness of this moment, the sweetness of being in the body. Good. And I always end practices with an ashe, which is a Yoruba word for so it is.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Oh my God, that was so nice. I really felt that. And I really felt that. So beautiful.
Simple resets, right? Just a simple reset.
And it kind of felt like a love letter to my body, you know, which I really, really needed.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And I also think it's just so interesting. Like I'm not a movement person, you know, and I think it's really, there's so many thank yous in the comments. I think it's so powerful for us to see and be doing all of that, and no matter where you're starting from, you know what I mean? Like there's something about that that's really meaningful to me, that even if you're not trained in anything, that you can do that. And
it's accessible and available to everyone. Right? For everyone, everybody, like I said before, all bodies, right?
Yeah.
So let go of the stories and just show up as you are.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Open yourself up. It's so amazing. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Oh my God, thank you for taking time. There was like banging and construction happening, and then a child walked into the room. All these things were happening while I was doing that. So that's kind of a metaphor for
everything, right? The things are always going to be happening. I love that. That's how our practice teaches us, right? It teaches us, again, it gives us the capacity to hold, right? All the things happening around, but staying firm and planted in your foundation.
Thank you so much for taking the time, and we're gonna tag you and make sure when we do upload this to our IGTV, everyone's gonna be able to find Pilin's information in our captions. You can go and follow her work, and please take her classes and support her work. She's been doing this for over a decade now. She knows what she's doing, and it's really such meaningful work. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you.
Yes. All right,
everyone. Hi, B.
We will see you soon, Pilin. Thank you for being with us.
You welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
See ya.
Bye.